This is the 3.6, an M96 engine that I bought. It has issues. I didn't pay much for it, but we'll see if it's worth even what I paid for it. Okay, first order of the day, we have to get this flex plate off of here. This obviously came off of a Tiptronic, there's a Tiptronic transmission, and so I've pulled the little bolts out, and we just have to try and pry that thing off of there. Uh-oh, we see problem number one. At the bottom of this, you will see a little black hole, and this little black hole is where there's supposed to be a little pin, which comes from the IMS bearing. So the IMS bearing is no longer there. Okay, so here's what a failed IMS looks like. The motor I bought, it's obviously, that's what it is. And if you look inside, we see a little nice ball bearing sitting there. There we are, all lined up in a row. Bunch of ball bearings, all down the inside of that shaft. So it took a little while to get all the stuff off the top of the engine, the intake manifolds and all the peripheral things like the power steering pump and all of the AOS, all of that stuff. It's pretty straightforward. You just sort of look at it and you go, you pay as you play, whatever it is. I think now that I'm getting to the nitty-gritty, and I'll be taking off the cam covers and the heads and etc., and we'll see what's going on inside this engine. So I pulled the cam covers off, well, the cam cover off here, and so it's quite different from the one that I did before. I've only done one other time. It was on my 2001 Boxster S, and I see that I made this sort of holder thing here to hold the cams down while I took off the cam cover, because otherwise I figured it would spring up at me because of the tension of the lifters down there that are pushing up on the cams. But as it turns out, in this engine, I don't even know if I needed that, because here, this part here, the cams are held on by the cam cover. You can see, I'll try and point to it here. The cam cover actually acts as a bearing like this. But in this engine, you see there's this one here and this one here that don't come off with the cam cover. And so that makes a difference, and I'll have to remove those in order to remove the cams, and then we can just continue on down the line. Of course, one of the differences, of course, this is a 3-chain engine, and the one that I took apart before was a 5-chain engine. So that makes a difference, because the thing is, in the 5-chain engine, of course, the two cams have a chain that runs between them, whereas this one, the chain continues on over the top and down. I don't know if you can see in there inside. You'll notice here as well, where these are the spark plug holes, as opposed to the previous car that I had, the 2001, which had the plastic tubes that went down inside, and this one, you see they're integrated. They're part of the whole head, so they don't have that plastic tube anymore, which is a good thing. Okay, I'm preparing to take this camshaft off. I've taken off the chain tensioner, which is actually over here on the other side. This is bank 2 I'm working on, and this guy here was down here, and this was difficult to come off because it's a huge Allen key. I used a pair of vice grips, but I don't know if that's recommended. Okay, so this sprocket, the oil scavenge pump sprocket, I just pulled it off after having removed the 4 little bolts, and then it's on here. This part here just slides off and leaves this part. If you can see it there, this part, that part there, leaves it there. Now I can pop out the I just undone the bolts here and here and here and here, and so now I can pop those caps off, and then I can remove the cams. You can see that these caps, which I'm going to take off, are marked. So just the best thing is to take a picture. I always just take a picture like this, and you'll see that this one here is called 2A. This one here is 1A. So you know where they go. So here I took the camshafts out. We're still working on bank number 2, and here are the lifters. I've marked them this is the exhaust side and the intake side over there. I've marked them with their cylinder number and left and right, so that I can reuse them in the same position. So in the lifter carrier, I've plucked them all out. This is the last one to come out of here. And you just pluck these out. They're kind of slippery because they've got oil on them. You can also use a little suction cup. This is apparently the best method. Use a little suction cup to pull them out. I managed to get them out just with my fingers, but it is a bit slippery. Okay, I've undone all of the little bolts that hold the cam lifters in place, and then we'll just be able to take this guy out here like this. It's not easy with one hand. Okay, so there's that, and now we'll see the valves. So the ends of the valves of the springs. We pulled the heads, and now we flip these over, and we can see what the condition is of the valves and things. This one actually doesn't seem to have been impacted too much. They don't by that errant piston. I don't know whether I can recuperate these or recycle these or not. We'll see. I'll have to take them into the shop and get them evaluated. And here's the culprit. This is what turns a $10,000 engine into trash. Well, pulling this off, well, this chain guide here just sort of fell out and in a few pieces and broke off, and part of it's down there, and seems to be a fair bit of collateral damage here. We'll see. Let's get at this. We're going to pull the gonna split the case. I guess I'll have to take this off first. These pumps and everything here in the front and or the back, depending on how you look at it. And then we should be able to get the case apart and see if the crank's any good. Anyway, I don't have a whole lot of hope for the future of this case. It's unfortunate. Okay, so here's the oil pump gear come off. This thing here, I had to I've got all the bolts all undone all around, and this thing actually just slides right off. Well, that's easy to say. It actually took quite a bit of little leverage and nudging, and I try to find places where I can put in a pry bar without damaging anything. So I'm trying to, even though the engine's probably scrap, it's nice to take care. By the way, this where this gear came off, the oil pump comes off here. This, what you see here, is actually the other end of the IMS. This gasket can come off. Don't need that anymore. Don't need no stinking gaskets. Okay, so now I'll look around and see if there's anything else that needs to be undone before we start undoing the case bolts. Okay, there's quite a few of these guys. I think we've got them all. We'll find out soon enough. And, there's a couple that were inside here in the sump. You have to take those out. There's also two back here, around in the inside where the flywheel goes. They all came off pretty easily once you crack them, like with a wrench or something. And then after that, I just spun them out with my handy dandy little drill there, impact thing. One didn't want to move, and so this one snapped right off. I don't know why that one was being nasty. The rest of them all came out like a charm. So here it is, coming apart. So it was giving me a bit of resistance and didn't want to split, and so I said, there's got to be something. And sure enough, there's this guy here, and inside here, that guy, T55s. So undoing those, and now it's coming apart. So here it is. We pulled that side off. Okay, we had a longer shot here. This is side 1, 2, 3, the ones with the good pistons, or the good side with the good. They look pretty good, actually, not too bad at all. It's just the slightest bit of maybe some scoring, but nothing deep. Bits and pieces of piston, mind you, up in here. There's lots of shrapnel. Okay, so now we'll pull off the other side and see what we get. Okay, some interesting stuff. So we got the other side off, and well, here's the piston in question. The rod is not broken, and the apron of the piston is, well, has seen better days. Now coming over here, this is something that's interesting. This is the 456, the tubes, and you'll see that here, these are the sleeves. The sleeves are completely smashed. In fact, it's interesting that number 5 as well. Here it is, number 5. Just pull this off. Okay, this one as well has broken. Okay, so this chain here, obviously this chain goes from the crank to the IMS, and interesting, you see the paddles on both sides, these chain tensioner thingies here, this snapped right off there, and the other side, a plastic one on this side, snapped right off there. So I don't think we can reuse that. So if I'd had a small borescope, I probably could have avoided buying this engine, because if I could have peeked in there and saw the state of this piston, I could have imagined, the state of the engine. Okay, well, I've learned something. See you next time. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please click the subscribe button and leave any comments below.